Marks and Spencer is adding self-checkouts in the dressing rooms. According to Chain Store Age, the British apparel and food giant is adding self-checkouts to fitting rooms in its 180 clothing stores. The move is to prevent shoppers from having to get in line twice during the shopping experience, and the self-checkouts are expected to be rolled out to about 100 stores by early 2028. The initial plan is to add one of the checkouts per changing room area, with a number to increase depending on consumer demand. To protect against shoplifting, the stores would have staff, quote, hosting, end quote, the changing room areas to make sure customers did not leave without paying. Chris, do you think we're going to see other apparel retailers follow Marks and Spencer's lead in trying self checkout in the fitting rooms?
Ooh, that's also a good question. I think sadly, no, but I'd say that I
Oh,
think they should.
right. I
There's a
agree.
tell for me. There's a tell for me that Marks and Spencer's doesn't have this all figured out yet, and it's the what is it, the 2028
Yeah.
date that they're putting this. That's 4 years away, so that's kind of
Yeah.
nuts. And the idea in general, Anne, raises so many questions like how do you take off the security tags? How do you handle bagging? But if we step beyond all of those, like, what do you have to figure out things and think about the possible, particularly in a world with RFID and overhead sensors, I wonder if this setup doesn't actually help to thwart theft more in the long run because
Yeah.
you can better monitor the garments going in and out of the fitting room and you have controlled exit and entry points that can be monitored by a single sales associate. And then of course you don't have the double queuing either. So as an idea, I love that they're doing this, and I think we're
Yeah.
going to see more experimentation of how ultimately it should work best in a fashion apparel setting. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, we did the like security tag removal and bagging at the Zara in Madrid, and I think that it can be done, and especially if you have an associate right there. I mean, Uniqlo's doing this too, where you have to remove tags for their RFID based checkout. I mean, it
Well,
can be done.
and with RFID, you don't even really need the security tags anymore.
True,
That's the other
true.
point of this, right?
Yes, yes, and in talking with RFID, we just we tested this out, in H&M when we were in New York, and being able to like order. That's something that they're working on too at H&M, is how they can have transactions happen from the fitting room, and you just walk out, because that is still the biggest frustration in all these apparel stores that have invested so much money in technology. You still end up sitting in a line, and it's one of the most frustrating experiences alive. So I think it's going to be really cool to see, to your point, what RFID enables and how that can hopefully speed this process so that they're rolling this out in more stores more quickly than 2028. And I just give a shout out to, we just interviewed Troy Sywick from Gray Orange, who talks about G Store and how stores like H&M have used some of the RFID overhead arrays, like you were talking about, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
to help enable this kind of stuff in stores. I think we can get there, but that's a great podcast to just learn more about the how of it. And then finally, we're going to be going out to Lumen Field in a few weeks to shoot the Just Walk Out technology with apparel in Seattle, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out as well, because I think that hits on
Mm.
this theft issue of, if there's a controlled entry and exit and then you can just walk out with that stuff. I think that's another way that we could start to see some of this apparel shopping experience changing for consumers for the better.
Which is all done with RFID too. That's why this
Right.
story is so important to pay attention
Right.
to.